Gail?
Yes. I'd like to say that when we vote for this, I can't vote for, against, or abstain without making the following statement in all good conscience. This board has had a successful procedure in place for creating and, well, first let me say yes, a lot of hard work did go into the budget. And I do thank everyone involved. This board has had a successful procedure in place for creating and executing budgets, which was used last year, and credit to whoever initiated that. If it was Slava, then credit to him. Which was starting as early as possible, though it wasn't always possible, and working with our financial advisors. Excluding anyone from this process does a disservice not only to those involved in the budget preparation, such as the FAC, the general manager, the controller, but also to every director on this board. What is the point in having financial advisors or a board of directors if we don't keep them in the loop every single step of the way? If they advise us of something and we disagree, that's okay. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Doesn't make them or anyone else correct. But it is the responsibility of this board leadership to discuss the issues and work through it, to see how we can come up with what we need to run the Galaxy effectively. Why a director is not invited to budget meetings until someone forces the issue? I went to a budget meeting that I and other directors weren't invited to only because I inquired and learned about it and made sure that I and another director showed up. I also made sure that directors were invited to the balance of the budget meetings, at least ones, of course, I knew of. Changes were made to this budget up till an hour or so ago, or maybe now 2 or 3 hours ago. Numbers in, numbers out, numbers up, numbers down. While things change and things can happen, this shows me that the procedure was not followed this year, and that's not good for any of us. Preparing a budget is a very stressful time for all involved, and more so for those that are participating. I understand this. But we must follow a process and successful procedures we have in place to ensure that we take the time we need and use the brain power and experience available to us. That includes management, accounting, the controller, the FAC, and every single director on this board to create a good budget in a timely manner. All I want to do is to make sure that what happened this year does not repeat itself next.
I'd just like to make a statement first about that before that. The same procedure was followed this year as last year. The first few meetings was only the FAC management to agree on where we were for 2010 before we could go forward. So the same procedure was followed to a certain point, and that's all I want to respond.
Point of personal privilege.
Please.
Well, when you say that, I'm not going to dispute the beginning meetings because I don't know.
There is no personal privilege. Nobody was named. Parliamentarian.
Well,
There is no
point of
personal-
information?
Waiting to find out what your...
Point of information, but then I wait my turn. Okay, now that's what's fair.
Yes.
Last year, I did participate in setting up a particular procedure. This year, unfortunately, I wasn't able to. I took sabbatical. Was not involved in the process. Circumstances this year changed because first year we did retain the services of professional. Mr. Menzi was brought in to oversee this process. It is great to have participating homeowners. It's fantastic when people come and share what they know. But we are responsible for what we're responsible. We have hired and paid professionals to guide us, because by giving recommendations, and people feel that it's important for them to give recommendations, either it's one committee or another, sometimes they go overboard, and sometimes they have no responsibilities for their recommendations. Therefore, I was very confident by bringing Mr. Manzi here. Unfortunately, we could not find him soon enough. And if you remember, this process took about 3 months of looking for one. So it was not kind of careless approach. We were desperately looking to bring somebody who knows. And I'm very confident that we did. So hopefully next year, this budgetary process with Mr. Manzi will start significantly earlier than it started this year, and will be done in a different fashion. As far as the directors participating in the process, last year, directors were included by the end of the process, because unfortunately you cannot run a meeting with 9 people present. So there was no change this year, and I believe it's appropriate for it to work as a subcommittee and then make a presentation to the board, because otherwise process will never end. That's the story. But directors do have a final say. Directors will introduce and drill this budget line by line. And as you pointed out, that even 2 hours ago, we still discussing the numbers. And then you have an option. If you do not agree with the budget, vote against it.
That will go around. Franklin.
Well, I think Slava is correct. We are responsible for what we're doing here, and I like to be responsible to not put the homeowners at risk of getting into arrears, being able to sell their homes. When we have to assess more than we need to because of wasted ideas, wasted money. The thing that kills home sales the most, I think, in this complex is the high maintenance. So that's great, but I don't think that some of my fellow board members are considering some of the situations that the homeowners are in. We have people who are underwater in their mortgages, and by doing that prepayment of the loan, I understand that it passed. That's great, but I said at that meeting that we're going to have assessments, and sure enough, I have an assessment every year. And along with this budget, there'll be more assessments on top of the one that's projected here that was just voted on. There'll be more assessments. I have a question. It's questionable whether or not the FAC is in agreement with this budget. So in my opinion, I don't think this budget should be approved, and it's just going to tax the homeowners even further. And we see that people are falling behind. We have the mall that's not paying their assessment, which, even though it's one unit owner, it accounts for about $240,000 to $40,000 plus whatever a year. So I understand they're in bankruptcy, Chapter 11, maybe Chapter 7, and it was mentioned earlier there's a contract that does not constitute a sale. I've heard about this contract back in September. If it's the one I'm thinking of, these people withdrew their offer. So I really hope there's something to this, that there could be some closure to the sales and they've sold and somebody will start paying the maintenance. Because right now, people who are going to be responsible for this maintenance that's not being paid by the mall or anybody else is all the homeowners who are paying.
Point of information.
Yes.
What would Director Lango suggest we do if?
That's my question too.
Would you please direct this question to Director Lango? We're not approving this, and we're going to be hitting us with 10% increase. This is what we have to do. The bylaws.
Perhaps,
yeah, give
perhaps
us
that's what
solution.
he's suggesting. Are
What
you
do you
suggesting that?
suggest?
What are you suggesting?
Well, first of all, this attorney fee, I voted against it. I don't think that should be
Okay.
paid upfront like that.
But we finished that already.
Okay, I understand. That's one example. The waste of money that we've had through this year and last year, we would have that money in our account, as opposed to just throwing it out the window. There are vendors who are waiting, and that's why you said about being sued. We get sued because we don't pay our vendors.
We're not.
Some
Point
of them,
of information.
some of them.
Waiting
Point of
vendors?
information.
Do you have anything in mind?
Point of
No, I
information.
don't.
It's over. I would like to know what lawsuits,
vendors?
Director Lango, what vendors is he talking about?
Okay.
We've gotten lawsuits by Nico
Heard the
Electric,
question.
Nico Electric,
That
Delano.
was in the past.
But we've gotten lawsuits because we didn't pay our bill.
How
There's a
long
lot of
ago
them
was
wanna be
Nico?
settled.
Was that a year ago?
No.
Well, if there are others,
2008.
okay, if there are others, I wouldn't even know.
When you first came on the board.
If there are others,
If your memory fails,
if
Point-
there-
I'm
point
if
of
there are
writing
information.
it for you.
Point of information.
If there
Could
are
you please
others-
put your pen down?
if there are others, I don't even think I would know about them.
Point of information. Oh, how many hours? Mr. Lango, Director Lango, look at this budget, if he really studied this budget, because the claims he is making are frivolous.
We could ask how long.
I would appreciate if you
Okay.
would
Yeah, I
direct
spent a
the
few
question.
hours here.
Director, would you please
Yeah,
tell us
I
how long you've studied the budget?
I spent a few hours here last week, right? And I looked at it at home a little bit.
Okay.
And I see certain things just don't fit. I see the attorney fees close to $600,000.
Historically.
I mean, there's a lot of things that, and I'm not the only one asking these questions.
Point of information.
Yes.
Point of information. I would like Mr. Lange to show where in the 2011 budget, attorney's fees are $600,000.
They weren't last year either, and what are we paying now?
What are you
Almost
talking
600.
about?
What are we paying now?
Okay, thank you very much.
You're
Anybody else?
Okay.
Go, I forgot what I
No,
wanted
you
to
wanna
say.
go?
I wanna
No,
call
you
the question.
go
You
and
go
I
think
go.
about it, okay.
That's why the
Everybody
special
didn't
assessment.
finish yet.